Right. Part five, the three shus, shape, shade, and shadow. Um, we've got sort of two aspects to the three shus. We've got real space, like the actual canvas and frame, and then the illusion of space, the depth of illusion created in a flat 2D painting. The illusion of space can come from overlapping shapes, like in the front, behind them, like front, back, overlapping shapes need space in order to be in front and behind each other. Shading creates mass. The use of black paint to obscure and to create depth is called chiaroscuro. It's the illusion of a 3D object with mass on the flat 2D. Shading objects plus mass, then they cast a shadow. That's a third way to create another illusion of space. So a figure shape versus the ground or the background. That background is called a void space, and there can be a relationship there and an interaction with that void space. All right. Boop. Raphael's Betrothal of the Virgin, 1504. The architecture, we've got these geometric lines, and then we've got these organic figures in the front. So we got natural people crowded in the foreground and geometric shapes in the background. Symmetry, color, shape, that focal point, sort of bringing us sort of dead center, move your eye straight down to the middle, brings us to that focal point of, in the center, you've got two hands in the foreground exchanging rings. A simple composition, right? Not really. There are tons of figures and several sets of activities going on here, but that contrast of geometric architecture that's stable and crisp and clean and very easily readable with your eye helps you organize all of those organic shaped human figures in the foreground. You can read this piece so easily because of that clean contrast. All right, contrast. This is the Royal Silhouette Vase from 2000. This one is all about the shape-ground relationship. Look at the white vase, or I suppose it's so expensive because it's for the Queen of England. It's a vase. Is there something funny about it? You're like, who made this wonky vase and gave it to the Queen of England? Awkward. It feels a bit asymmetrical, doesn't it? Now look at that ground or void space behind it. Can you see Queen Elizabeth's profile on the right and Prince Philip's on the left? So in this case, the void space is actually more important than the figure or the object. Void space relationships are not always this dramatic, but sort of keep that in mind to pay attention to the void space and the shapes created in that ground void space as well. All right. Caravaggio, The Calling of St. Matthew, 1600-ish. You got this illusion of depth that is from overlap, shading, and shadow. So overlap, you've got figures, a table, figures behind the table, and a wall. So we've got sort of four sets of things that have mass that are overlapping each other. So that creates, your mind creates enough space for there to be body, table, body, wall. For those things to fit in the depth of this space. Shading. Look at the guy bent down on the left. Legs. You can just see a thigh that's sort of a clearly rounded object here, cloaked in blackness. Caravaggio is sort of our king of chiaroscuro. This isn't just like shaded figures. That's just full on black. He didn't, you don't have a hint of the shape in there really. It's just black. So your mind fills in that deep, dark hole. Look at the faces. Look at the boy in the middle, the neck and the jaw of Jesus on the right. Yes, that's Jesus. Do you see that wafer thin halo there? That's Jesus. Shadow. Where's the light source? It is focused and it's intense, rather than diffuse. There's clearly a window off canvas here, off frame, and the light is filtering through. This is quite, I mean, if you're in 252, we're going to talk about Caravaggio quite a bit, but think about what it means to be doing basically a portrait of a bunch of gamblers at a table. And it also happens to have Jesus in it, and he's way in the corner, hidden behind another dude and almost barely visible. It's an incredibly, once again, scandalous piece, but it does such an incredible job of creating a rich narrative through this depth. So there's depth of story going on here, but there's also physical depth of space and the illusion that's created from all of this shadow. All right, Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel. We've got the Adam panel here. So we've got Adam on the left, simple shape versus God on the right. He's complex with a bunch of wavy cloths and figures and cherubs and stuff happening. The balance between this very simple chunk over here and this very complex suite of characters over here comes from this void space. We've got a lot of empty white space to sort of be able to balance and take that in. Notice the complementary colors as well. We've got the cool on the like dead clay dude section on the left, and then we've got the warm, hot energy of creation happening on the right. We've got implied mass. So how are we creating this balance? We've got the void space here. We got implied mass. Adam is not like sitting on an itty bitty little rock. He's sitting on a hill that can sort of support his weight. We've filled in that space with sort of an implied mass of a hillside or a mountain. But it's very large and it's very simple. It's very plain. So we've got this large, simple shape behind Adam that helps balance simple versus complex with this multi-figured piece over here on the right. Adam is pretty listless looking. He's, again, soulless flesh before the spark of creation happens here. God is animated and full of energy, plenty to spare to create life. All right, point of view. How are we looking at this? How are we viewing it? I mean, I did say the word ceiling. Dun, 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 Sistine Chapel. There isn't anything more worm's eye-er than the worm's eye view of the Sistine Chapel. You are looking straight up at this overwhelming mass of stacked scenes. You're kind of in library mode here. This is like a stacked gallery in the heavens, many stories above your head. You can't take it all in at once. It's insane and it's overwhelming. So you pick a panel and you focus on that individual piece until your eye from the periphery catches something else. Library mode, you keep browsing. So if I can get my mouse to move here you can see there's the creation of Adam panel there, kind of, I don't know, a little off from center. So in the middle of it all. Right, let's pause here and move on to composition.